Hello and welcome to ANC Decides, the show that gives you up-to-the-minute reports, commentary and analysis building up to the ANC's December elective conference. I'm your host, Mpumalanga. Here's what's making headlines today. The battle for the swing vote intensifies as Dlamini Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa campaign in Mpumalanga. The front-runners are out to get a share of the ANC's second biggest voting bloc. Northwest Provincial Executive Committee throws its weight behind Dlamini Zuma to be the next ANC president. David Mabuza is touted as deputy president, with Ace Makashule as the secretary general. KwaZulu-Natal's wing of the Umkhonto weSizwe military veterans calls for unity ahead of the December conference. Military veterans say unity of the ANC is more important than fighting succession battles. The two front-runners in the presidential race are set to go head-to-head in the battle for Mpumalanga. Dlamini Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa will both be campaigning in the province that is dubbed as the swing state. Dlamini Zuma is taking her campaign to Mpumalanga for the very first time since chairperson David Mabuza emerged as the kingmaker in the succession race. Mpumalanga is now the second biggest voting bloc in the ANC after KwaZulu-Natal. Meanwhile, Ramaphosa is set to address the SACP's Red October rally in the same province. The two campaigns are expected to give an indication on who has the upper hand in the sought-after province. Now, here's the number of delegates which each province will be sending to the ANC's national conference. KwaZulu-Natal will be sending 870 delegates. Mpumalanga, second, will be sending 736 delegates. Eastern Cape, 648. Limpopo, 643. The Northwest, 538. Gauteng, 508. The Free State will be sending 409. Northern Cape, 197. And Western Cape at last with 182 ANC delegates. Now, today in studio, we're joined by political analyst Professor Sipho Siebe and Botsang Moilwa, who join us a bit later on. And via Skype, we're joined by Professor Begi Mngomezulu. To the both of you, welcome.
Thank you for inviting us.
No, it's always a pleasure. Now, Professor, with these two candidates, we've got the Deputy President as well as MP Dr. Dlamini Zuma. They're both heading to Mpumalanga. Would this really be that crucial moment to gauge the position of the province, or actually the Premier there will not reveal his cards as yet?
Well, I think two things. When Cyril Ramaphosa announced his so-called winning team, he was making it easier for quite a number of people. Because when you say, I would like to have these as my preferred candidates, you're also making a statement of who you do not want. So you had Mabuza, who is a politician and is also, like all politicians, very ambitious about upward mobility. As soon as you see that, if you are not sure about your position, that announcement makes things easier. So it is possible, and it may have been true, that as a person who was talking about unity, the decision and the announcement has made it much easier for him to be on a particular position. But there's something also very important about these people going to Mpumalanga the same weekend. One is very interesting, is going to be addressing the SACP, and that is Cyril Ramaphosa. Effectively, he is almost like giving up on the ANC delegates there. Because if you are in a contest, you want to make sure that you address the people who will be making a mark in the ballot. You're not going to be talking to people who are irrelevant. So talking to SSCP, yes, you may have some members who have dual membership, but most importantly, you would have thought that he'll be paying attention more to members of the ANC. Nkosana, on the other hand, has been invited to address members of the ANC. So you can actually see that there is a certain understanding by even...
they possibly could be endorsing
that
this
I understand
weekend.
that I've lost this one, that I may not have as much support, so I'm going to try to get people, because you try to focus on those who matter. And those who matter are the people who have a say and also a place in the table where decisions are going to be made.
Now, perhaps let's rope in Professor Mgomezulu. Your take when Professor Sipho Seape says perhaps the line was drawn in the sand the moment that the Deputy President revealed his winning team, so to say.
I agree absolutely. As we recall, a couple of weeks back, we made similar statements saying that by revealing his so-called winning team, the Deputy President shot himself on the foot. Because if you indicate upfront who you want to work with, as Professor Seape has just pointed out, we are basically saying that in a way that in itself is exclusive, because you are saying these are the people I would like to work with, and then everybody else will fall by the wayside. And we also know for a fact that for quite some time, Titi Mabuza has been playing his cards close to his chest until right now that we know that for sure Mpumalanga province also wants him to be the running mate of Dr. Nkosazana Zuma. But she herself has not said it up front. It's just the masses that are saying that, especially from Mpumalanga. So then by him, that is by the Deputy President indicating the team, he already worked on the factions that are already there. Because if you look at almost all of the members of his team are on the other side of the line. And then, of course, all those who were against the president are in his team. And then technically, those who are against him will definitely fall on the side of Dr. Nkosazana Zuma. So I think it was a reckless statement by the reckless move by the Deputy President. I don't know what went wrong in his team when he announced that particular winning team, so to speak.
Botsang, your take? I mean, Professor Seape here also talking about politicians being ambitious. I know with the old guard of the ANC, they're disdainful towards those who elbow for positions. They literally, or in most instances, wouldn't appreciate such people with ambition. Should we be looking down on people that are ambitious as politicians?
Well, good afternoon, Mfundo and the panelists and the viewers. Well, look, this is unprecedented in the ANC, that you have 7 members of the National Executive Committee contesting for the presidency of the ANC. That's one element that demonstrates that the situation is no longer the same. You know, the game change is different at the moment. But I have said here over a month ago, and I had said, and I shared that platform with Prof on that particular day to say, anybody who is going to win the ANC election race, presidential election race, will have to have Didi Mabuza and Mpumalanga on their side. And, you know, I said that confidently. And I didn't say that because of Didi Mabuza as a person. I looked at the demographics of the ANC membership within the province. I looked at Mpumalanga being one of the most united provinces. Of course, they will have differences, but one of the most united provinces of the ANC. Thirdly, you look at the role he played, you know, towards bringing stability and peace in the African National Congress to say, let us look at unifying the organization. He remained neutral. He played his cards very close to his church and safely for quite a long time. And that worked to his advantage. I agree with the previous speaker. I just want to take you to your
point. You say that you didn't look at the chairperson, David Mabuza, as a person, but the demographics, or better yet, the numbers that he would be bringing, that somebody would need to probably have him on their slate.
Exactly.
But then if they're talking this ethical leadership, and then there's also that cloud, because many seem to somehow associate him with corruption. They've talked of those allegations of corruption. The SACP in Mpumalanga has been very critical of him, especially around curbing political killings in the province. We know of Jimmy Mhlala, Semi Mpahlanyane, Bomba Njangas of the SACP, Zain Pelembe. Quite a number of people have lost their lives in Mpumalanga. Not to say that he's associated with that, but curbing the political killings at the very least. So when you say you don't look at him as a person being put on a slate, but the numbers that he brings, is it a numbers game or an ethical game?
Well, elections are a numbers game. You know, politics are a numbers game. When you look at the elective conference, what is national is the one who brings numbers. And there is no doubt that Mpumalanga is one of the top 3 provinces of the ANC with numbers. I've already alluded to the fact that he managed, amid all these allegations and challenges and skirmishes and all that he was faced with as the leader, he managed to actually keep the province and the membership of the ANC glued up in that province. You are mentioning the SACP, and Prof earlier on mentioned the deputy president of the country and the ANC banking on the SACP. The SACP, in my view, it's a dead horse at the moment. And when it comes to elections and electioneering, they don't master that game. Otherwise, they would have long gone on their own route. They don't conduct the numbers. They are not into the numbers game. They may have the philosophy and the politics, and they've been pushing the numbers behind the National Union of Mine Workers, the ANC, to a bigger extent towards the COSATU. But at this juncture, I don't think the Deputy President is calculative to go to Mpumalanga, which is one of the biggest provinces of the ANC, which is very stable in my view. There may be challenges here and there, but it has a solidified membership. And you bank on the platform, or you go there on the cart of the SACP and COSATU to some lesser extent, while your main rival, which is Dr. Nkosazana Zuma at the moment, goes on the ticket of the ANC. This is the ANC National Elective Conference that is coming, not the SACP, not COSATU. We are not putting a blind eye on the fact that some of the members are dual card holders,
yes,
but they will go
members,
to the conference.
They go there, they probably belong to branches, and they'll be voting for
the minority of them. My point is they are in minority. You know, I don't think they will make a major influence. They are in minority, but it's about numbers. It's numbers that are going to count at the elective conference. It's those who can sway. Another thing that Didi Mabuza has done over years, if you observe, he is capable of swaying the minds of the people when time arrives. He's capable of standing in front of the members of the ANC in Mpumalanga and saying to them, this is the direction that we will take. Let's look at what happened last month, when he managed to convince the people to say, we are not putting names and slates on the ballot, we are going to vote for the ANC. What did the branches do? They started following that process. So that's the power he's possessing. That's
so he's the master persuader.
He's the master persuader. I will
Professor
agree with that.
Siepe, your take when he says that SACP is a dead horse, that the Deputy President should not be banking on going to a rally where the SACP will be addressing the masses and then expect that somehow he could possibly become the next president of the ANC?
First of all, it's not an accident that the SSCP has not tried to contest elections on its own in the past, precisely because it knows that it was going to face a total embarrassment. Just like other parties that had always claimed that if they go and contest against the ANC, they are going to win. Most of them have actually been embarrassed politically. And secondly, the SSCP does not have the same machinery that the ANC has on the ground. Yes, they have mastered the art of occupying the airspace, making sure that they make statements and they are very quick on that. And they also have a media that is sensitive to anybody or gives platform to anybody who seems to be anti-ANC. In the same way that if you have a member of the ANC who stands up and attacks the organization, that person will get more airtime. So they have been blessed with having airtime, but they're being rooted in something else. And I think they are not stupid in terms of choosing over the years not to contest against the ANC. So that's the first thing. The second one is that you also have members of the SSCP who are not members of the ANC. But if you really want to win, you also send a message. So when you are a deputy president and want to contest the ANC election, you would go to members of the ANC. And this is also one of the weaknesses of the previous presidents who contested against Jacob Zuma, that they played to a gallery that had nothing to do with the delegates. You saw Kgalema Motlanthe, every time he was covered in the media, it was always positive. You saw people like Mpumalanga, who, when they were contesting against the ANC, they were covered in the media space. But when it came to voting, you are choosing people who are not going to vote for you. So the main people that the deputy president should have been concentrating on is the members of the ANC. But when you make a statement that I've given up on that, you actually give the others, I mean, this is what they need to exploit, that this is a contest of the ANC, but we have somebody who would rather address all other people other than yourselves. So it is I don't know who advises him, but you are making a statement.
Professor Mngomezulu, your take here, because I remember last week Blaine Zimande was actually saying that it's disingenuous of the president of the country right now to pretend as if the SACP were not instrumental in his ascension to power. So would you say that the SACP is a dead horse as well as COSATU?
No, let us get our facts straight, Assistant Fondo. We don't have to go far to learn the lessons. Let's take the case of the EFF during the local government elections last year. That's where I tend to agree with both of my colleagues that side, because if you look at the EFF, it used to fill stadiums, But then the question is, why did the EFF fail to get even one municipality in the local government elections? The answer is very simple. People who filled the stadium were not all the people who were going to vote, first of all. And then those who were going to vote, it's not all of them were going to vote for the EFF. And then the EFF was shocked to find that at the end of the election, they didn't get even a single municipality. Now, coming to the Deputy President, the issue of the SACP is a credible political party, but it is strong for as long as it is part of the alliance. The moment it goes it alone, it doesn't have the numbers. I agree entirely with that one, because if it were to go it alone, then obviously it would mean that all those ANC members with dual membership, who are members of the ANC and also members of the SACP, would then vote for the ANC and not for the SACP. And the other point worth noting is that currently the SACP does not have members of parliament. Members of parliament who are also members of the SACP are in parliament on the ANC ticket, not on the SACP ticket. So anyone who invests everything on the SACP is missing the point. It's better if you bring all parties, that is alliance members together, then you are most likely to get something. Then maybe let me end with the point of COSATU. COSATU, yes, does control numbers. But then will those numbers go to the ANC conference? Obviously, no, it's only a few of them. So there is what we call political rhetoric, and then, of course, the reality on the ground. So what we see most people investing in is political rhetoric. You hear a lot of noise, and then you assume the end result is almost a foregone conclusion. Come the reality, and then you are shocked. So that is what I can say about the SACP. It is a political party. It is a credible political party, but it doesn't have numbers to go it alone. So anyone who invests in it is definitely running the risk of losing the race even before it starts.
An interesting point there. Now on to the BGMs that have been concluded in some provinces. Now, despite some disagreements about branch general meeting figures presented by ANC Secretary General Gwedemantashe, Mpumalanga is leading the province in terms of meetings concluded. This has a major bearing on the nominations and who eventually emerges as the next ANC president.
The tribal province of the Eastern Cape is, as of yesterday, was at 56% of the BGMs. That's what it was. The Free State was at 75.9% of the BGMs. Gauteng was at 76% of the BGMs. KZN was at 40.8% of the BGMs. Mpumalanga was at 95.7. Limpopo was at 73.8. Northern Cape was at 93.9. Northwest was at 54.3. And Western Cape was at 66.3. Obviously, we'll see where we need to intervene. That there are basically three provinces that needs to be helped to accelerate the process. It will be your Eastern Cape, your KZN, and your Northern Cape.
Now here's how Mpumalanga compares to other provinces on BGMs concluded. Mpumalanga is at 95.7%, Northern Cape is at 94%, Free State 87.6%, Gauteng is standing at 76%, Limpopo is at 73.8%, the Western Cape is at 66.3%, BGMs concluded, the Eastern Cape 56%, Northwest 54.3%, and KwaZulu-Natal is at 78.5%. Those figures, Botsang, it seems Mpumalanga has its house in order, standing at 95%, so clearly things are happening.
Exactly what I said earlier on. It is not just the leader, it is not just having the numbers as the province. Now, evidence has come in front of us. It is one of the most organized. And when I spoke of unity earlier on, I said they may be having challenges, but they are minor. The fact that most of the branches could correlate, could come to a conclusion and an agreement is very critical, because 96% of their branches, it's confirmed that they will go to the elective conference. But remember, these other ones like Eastern Cape and the KwaZulu-Natal, which is a court case, that brought out this matter. Eastern Cape, there were fights that happened in there. They have until the closing date was today, or is today, the 15th, or yesterday.
Yesterday.
But they have been given an opportunity to say they can go into the weekend, not to say there's an extension, in order to can resolve all those minor things that they can resolve internally with the NEC members being deployed to those provinces as well in order to resolve this. So they've got literally until midnight on Sunday evening to must have submitted BGMs that correlated, that were signed off by deployees of the National Executive Committee. Again, I don't see any of those provinces reaching 96%. And this is 96% of a bigger number as well. We should not forget, it's not just 96%, like the Northern Cape has more than 90%, but you look at the numbers that will come out of the Northern Cape to more than 400 delegates that will be in Nasrec. It's very little numbers. So I'm still saying, Fundo and the listeners or the viewers, the numbers that will come out of Mpumalanga, your home province, for the ANC.
Must you reveal it now? But I'm happy to be from Mpumalanga. I love it.
For the ANC elective conference, it is going to be very crucial. It is going to be important. What the nation will wish for, or the members of the ANC will wish for in this instance, is that after the elective conference, the ANC must come out of that conference united, solid, who can look at the programs and the policies that were adopted or that will be signed off during the elective conference. I think that's what is crucial at the moment. But in my view, I've said to people before, I can put my head on the block, where Mpumalanga is going, that person is going to go away with these elections. Who at the moment, I'm not in a position to say that.
You're playing it safe. Professor Siepe, your take. We've heard the chairman there in a number of interviews with the media conceding that he was also part of the factions in 2012. He was part of the factions in 2007, and that he's chosen this position of unity and not revealing who he endorses because they felt that route left them in a worse off position.
Yeah, I think we should also accept he's stating the most obvious. But what is also obvious is that the ANC itself was factional. So if he says he was a member of a faction, he was a member of another faction, it does not mean that the others were not factions. You had the multiplicity of factions, but you had the two dominant factions. Those who had historically been against the president since 2007, they formed a faction. And you see the machinations of those factions happening in other forms. And Jacob Zuma is the center of those factions. So, but what is also important is the behavior of leaders, in as much as nominations may have been made, how you behave right now towards an elective conference, you also are going to change people's perception about. So what you also saw was that some people said, no, we don't care what anybody says because the branches have made nominations. But it doesn't end there. The campaigning is going to continue. And your posture, if you are seen to be a representative of the ordinary people and you talk about their concerns, people might actually say, you know, I thought I was going to vote for this person, but this is a person who I'm going to stand with. So that is why I was saying, if you have an ANC election and you start concentrating on the media, on the capitalists, on all other people,
it might be to your disadvantage. Noted. Now, Mabuza continues to feature as a deputy president on lists that have Dlamini Zuma as the preferred presidential candidate. This despite Mabuza not confirming nor denying that he will be Dlamini Zuma's running mate. The latest province to endorse Mabuza is the Northwest. Now, here's this latest slate to put Mabuza as Dlamini Zuma's second in command. For chair, they're going with Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, rather as president, and David Mabuza as deputy president. Ace Magashula is secretary general on that slate, Natim Tetwa as national chairperson, Maide Ngoane Mashabane as treasurer general, Jesse Duarte as first deputy secretary general, and Pumulo Masuale as second deputy secretary general. And an interesting slate, Botsa. What do you make? I see just the one change there is that of chair, because in other slates that we've seen, Jesse Duarte was going for chair, and now we have Natim Tetwa. Are there any significance, would you say, in the Northwest, their preference?
I'm not into the slates, and I don't think it will do them a favor at the moment. However, the smart part of the NDZ team that they have done is not announcing the slate, not shooting themselves on the foot. Keep quiet about this and work on it in the branches and the provinces, and don't make noise about it too early at the moment. That's the first element. The second element is it's a balanced slate, whereby it has both women and men. That makes it a very advantageous. Whether women leading, ANC has been talking about the women leading. They've got the youth league behind them. They've got the military veterans behind them. They've got the women's league behind them. And all these three bodies of the African National Congress, they've got voting powers within the conference. So there's another advantage that they have. The other side of the story, which a slate that was announced by Deputy President Mr. Ramaphosa, it has people that, in my view, they are not populist. And you know that I said earlier, elections are about numbers, about the numbers you can draw, about people on the ground liking you. And also another element that happened this week, another shot on the foot, it's being invited to that meeting in Soweto, and you have the capitalists of this world, the Doan visas. That was also a bad move to go and address that. I think that's late. Looking at the politics, demographics in the country at the moment, it looks like that will be the winning slate, knowing the history of the ANC and how the ANC conducts itself during the policy conference.
Fair enough. Professor Mgomezulu, your closing remarks on that slate?
Yeah, which one? The one for Cyril Ramaphosa, the one for Nkosazana Zuma?
The one for Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, where the chair is Premier David Mabuza.
Yeah, no, I think that one, if it were to be true that the state is as being presented, I think it will be a stronger one for a number of reasons. If you look at KwaZulu-Natal is leading the pack in terms of the number of delegations, and then you look at Mpumalanga is the second largest. Even in Northwest, even though it's not number 3, but it's number 5. But if you look at all of those three put together already, whoever gains support from these three will be miles ahead. So I think that it's a very interesting one, more especially if you look also in the Eastern Cape. We know that Oscar Mabuyane, who is currently leading the ANC in the province, even though there are controversies. And then you look at Phumulo Masualle, who was ousted in that controversial conference. And then if his name appears here, obviously then it means in a way you would also be able to sway some support from the Eastern Cape, who would ordinarily have voted for the Oscar Mabuyane camp, which is fully behind Cyril Ramaphosa. So then the slate as is being presented, if it were to be like this, will definitely go a long way towards giving Nkosazana Zuma an advantage.
No, you know what? It remains a very tight race. If you wake me up at night and ask me who's going to take this, I still don't know. Well, finally, this week's poll question. The question this week is, will the mining charter enable the sharing of South Africa's mineral wealth? We want your opinion as well as branch members, so do visit our social media pages and give us your take on that. And that's where we end today's show. Until next time.